So I am Tempest Taddy. I am the founder of Heart Survivors Against Mental Health. We are an organization that spreads awareness for mental health and heart disease. Mental health, including depression, anxiety, and PTSD, because we go through those after we have a heart event. I had open heart surgery January 20th, 2023. So the way that I come to have the heart surgery is I originally had my wisdom teeth taken out. I had my wisdom teeth taken out in November of 2022. And 2 months later is when I got sick. January 11th, I passed out in front of my daughter and my mother. And my mom had to call 911 and get me rushed to the hospital. They had no idea what was going on. I had no idea because, as far as I knew, I thought I just had COVID or a cold. So I get to the hospital and the heart valve apparently is leaking and they need to repair it. It needs to be replaced, is what they told me. And of course, at this moment, I'm telling the cardiologist, no, this is wrong. I'm only 35 years old. I don't need heart surgery. I've never had anything wrong with me in my life of so much as only anemia. That's the only thing I've ever had. So this to me is like, this must be somebody else's scan, not mine. So, of course, that day I felt bad, but not as bad as the rest of the days would come. And right away put me in ICU at Madison, and then they transported me to Huntsville Hospital and put me in another ICU. That's the ICU that my husband said it looked like people didn't go home from there. So it looked like I wasn't gonna make it, according to him. So that was the first. That was the second ICU. And then they stabilize me and they get me to a regular floor. And then they decide that I needed a root canal in the front two teeth of my mouth. And they could not decide if whatever was wrong with my heart at the time had come from me having my wisdom teeth taken out, or was it because I was on drugs, is what they thought. But I've never done drugs in my life. But apparently, endocarditis is what I was diagnosed with. It is highly linked to doing heroin. I've never done heroin a day in my entire life. I've never done drugs in my entire life. So at this point, they went with it must be her teeth. So they went and they did a root canal. And well, they went and they said, instead of me I need a root canal, but instead of me getting the root canal, they're going to go ahead and take my teeth out. So they took my teeth out. So I have no teeth. And then a couple days later, they decide, hey, now we need to go in and do a full open heart surgery. So they go in, cut my bones, take the heart valve out, replace it with a tissue valve. The next night I come out, I'm, clearing up, and then my heart stops. It's not communicating. So after now my heart's not communicating, the heart valves are not communicating with each other. They then go and give me an external pacemaker. The next day I wake up, I had no idea what happened. They tell me I had to keep this monitor on me because my heart stopped and it wasn't communicating. And this is making my heart move. So now they decide they have to test it. So they turn the leads off to see if my heart stops. Of course, my heart stops again while I was woke. So I felt it and it was very painful. So then they decided now we're going to go in and give her an internal pacemaker. So the next day I got an internal pacemaker put in. I leave the hospital with a PICC line going into my heart for IV that I needed for an entire month. So I had to go back to the hospital every day to get IV antibiotics in my arm. And then I leave there after antibiotics for a month, and I get cardio rehab, and I hate cardio rehab. I hated cardio rehab so much because there's all these old people there, and I'm the only person that's 35, and I'm thinking, what am I doing in this place with these people that are older than me? But I soon found out that I needed those people for support. I needed them a lot for support. I met one guy there that I'm still friends with today. Of course, he's older than me, but I needed the friendship because I needed to get better. I stayed in cardio rehab probably for 5 months because unfortunately I was not a good patient. I didn't want to be there. So I would make up reasons not to go. Any reason I could, I was not going to go. About August was when I realized that, you know what, something's not right. Everybody's going to work, everybody's going to school, everybody's living their lives, but I'm sitting in the room by myself crying every day. There are days when I ask God, why am I here? Why would you make me go through this just to feel like this? Why did you save my life? I just didn't get it. I didn't understand. Even though I had already joined Mended Hearts and I was going to their meetings day to day or every month, and I had someone there that I would call for support, it just to me didn't feel like I was okay. I was still sad. I still felt stuck in time. I still grieved the old me. I was grieving my old self. And I just felt like I was not the person that I was supposed to be. So I decided I need therapy. automatically I need therapy. And I started looking for a therapist myself. I didn't ask anybody. I just went out and found my own therapist and started going to therapy because something wasn't right and I just wasn't getting better mentally. Physically, I was up, I was walking, I was doing the things I needed to do, but mentally, I wasn't who I needed to be. I didn't feel like my normal self anymore. So I got therapy and I went to therapy for, I went to therapy every week for a year. I just got to the point where I started going twice a month. Recently, back in October, I started going twice a month after a whole year. And then now I'm not even going at all, but I need to, just that we moved, that I haven't been going to therapy. But I promote therapy. I really feel that, there's such a big connection between mental health and heart disease. There's always that feeling of, I got to go back to the doctor today. Am I going to go ahead and, is something else going to happen? Am I going to have to go back to have another surgery? Oh, I got a sniffle. Does this mean I'm going to get an infection that's going to go to my heart? You don't know. So I'm always nervous because any infection I get can cause me to have to go back into the hospital. So little things that most people don't worry about, I worry about. And then I worry about it too much. And then that's when I get depressed. And instead of getting up and being able to clean my house, cook for my kids, take care of my family, there are days when I'm like, I just can't do this. I can't work. I can't do anything because I'm so depressed. Because in my head, I'm only thinking about the fact that I had open heart surgery. And what if I have to do it again? Or what if something else worse happens? Or because my condition doesn't cause me to take multiple medications, I often ask myself, do I even belong in the heart disease world? Am I really a heart patient? But I am a heart patient. I am. I have a cut on my chest for the rest of my life that reminds me that I am here and I'm walking in my purpose and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm helping other people understand that it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to, have anxiety about your next appointment. It's okay to say, I need to talk to somebody. I can't do it on my own. And I've created a directory to help everybody that has heart disease so that if I have heart disease, I know I can go to this website and I can go ahead and find me a mental health therapist. I can find somebody to talk to so I can get through it because it's okay to grieve your old self because you're not that person anymore. I'm not the old Tempest before heart surgery. I'm the new Tempest after heart surgery. It's okay for somebody to feel that they need help. If you're undergoing a heart event, you just had a heart attack, or you just have gotten diagnosed with PPCM, it really does help knowing that, Heart Survivors Against Mental Health exists, because this is an organization that will help you to find a therapist. If you don't have insurance, we will help you find a therapist that will basically accept a sliding scale. That's the purpose of having this organization. It's so that you don't have to do the work on your own. Or if you need to speak to somebody and you don't want to call a therapist, you just want to speak to me one-on-one, I'm available to speak to you one-on-one, just so you can cry and kind of understand, talk to somebody one-on-one that knows what you're going through. It's okay to speak to somebody that is not, a qualified therapist, but at the same time, I understand what you're going through. It's peer-to-peer help. Peer-to-peer support is one of the biggest things that we need. I see a lot of the posts that say, just know your numbers. Know, what your heart is putting out. You need to understand that so that you can understand, kind of like wearing a watch every day that's keeping track of your pulse. So if you're not looking at it consistently, knowing what you normally sit at, if your heart shoots up skyrocket, you won't even understand because you didn't know that your heart technically normally sits at 66 or 77 and now it's at 125 for no reason while you're sitting still. Some people just don't think to know those things. That's why you have to just try your hardest to be positive. Try your hardest to stay in a frame of mind that, if I can't do it today, I can't stress about it today. If I can't fix it right now, I don't need to be stressing about it right now. I need to let that go. We don't have to take on every single thing. One thing my therapist told me is, who took care of everything when you were in the hospital? You didn't take care of anything. Who did it? And when I had to give her the answer, my husband, my son, it was, then let them do it. Well, right now they're depending on me. She said, no, they didn't depend on you when you're in the hospital, right? So you have to step back and remember that I can't do everything. Because physically, if I do everything on my own, guess what? I'm not going to be here next week to do everything because I'll be too stressed out. Now I'm in the hospital. So you have to just step back sometimes and allow other people to do things for you. So this is how I feel like if you're not comfortable enough to say, hey, I'm dealing with this depression, or I'm having a bad day, or I have anxiety, or I'm afraid, because some days I'm just afraid to be by myself because I feel a little sick today and I'm afraid. Don't say it if you're afraid to say it out loud. Don't say it out loud. I wouldn't put it out there if I'm afraid. You don't have to put it out there. Technically, it's nobody's business but your own if you're not feeling it. But what I would do if I felt that way and I didn't want to just come out openly and say, hey, I'm not having a great day today, what I would do is I would go get my nearest support system and say, hey, do you want to spend some time with me today? Therefore, you're not being alone and you're not also telling them what it is. Now, after you have spent time, because making memories is one of the biggest stress relievers to me. Being able to spend time with my kids or my husband is literally, or even just a regular phone call with my mother, is really just a way to make memories. And they might not know that I'm not having a great day, but once we make that memory, then it's up to me to be able to say, hey, you know what? You really helped me today because I wasn't feeling too good earlier. That is how I would do it. If I know for a fact I don't want it out there, you don't have to put it out there if you're afraid. Just go ask your nearest support system to spend some time with you. Definitely think that mental health awareness would fit in PPCM and Let's Talk PPCM, period, because I'm a mom and I know what it's like to, even before heart disease, I know what it's like to struggle being a mom, being, trying to fit in your own time. But then you have three people who need your attention, your significant other who needs your attention. My mother has dementia, so she needs my attention. Your friends, I'm very close with my aunt, and she'll call me and just want to talk. And she's like, why don't you want to talk to me? Listen, it's very hard being a new mom. It is, especially when I got my third kid. It was very, very difficult. So for me, I definitely think that mental health awareness is good for any mother, period, whether they have heart disease or not. It's something that is so important because we get to the point where we feel like we're all alone because our husband is out there taking care of bills and taking care of whatever he needs to do. So you are at home with this kid and you just get to the point where you feel like, oh, did I lose myself? No, you didn't lose yourself. You just really need to find a way to get the new you out. It is very hard. I get it. So I definitely do think that mental health awareness is important. And I think that Heart Survivors Against Mental Health Awareness, we are here to help those with heart disease, get through any type of mental health that they feel that they're going through. But honestly, it's definitely something that's needed everywhere. Our link is actually www.hsamh.org, but it will be up March 1st. And when I do put it back up, I have an interview with a therapist that I'll be putting out on the blog area there. One of my therapists that is actually here in South Carolina. I plan on putting out a new article about a new therapist every month, kind of all over, so everybody kind of gets the ability to see different therapists in their area. More people commit suicide after finding out that they've been diagnosed with heart disease than those that don't have heart disease. That's what's so interesting, and a lot of people don't talk about it. Heart disease is the number one killer in the world, but more people actually find out that they have heart disease and go ahead and commit suicide because they can't deal with the stress that's going to come along with it. So, mental health definitely needs to be talked about more often when we're talking about heart disease. It is very important.